Hello, and welcome to my channel. My name is Jonathan Cohn, and today I have my book review of the book Ruin by John Gwynne. Boy, is this series huge. The books are that enormous trade paperback design. It's huge. I showed it to my parents, and they were like, "Whoa!" They don't read this type of thing, so they're not used to seeing this type of book. This is the third book in the Faithful and the Fallen series. The first book is Malice. I read this book right before I actually started this channel in 2021. And then I read book 2, Valor, in 2022, and I have a review on the channel. And then now I have book 3, Ruin. And I promise I will get to book 4 faster than I did the other books. You know, I put about a year or year and a half between the first 3 books. I'm going to try to do this one before the end of this year so that I get it out quicker. And I'll explain why in a few minutes. So when I started the Faithful and the Fallen series, I read Malice. It was not what I was expecting, but I was all here for it. It was very entertaining book. And then I read Valor. And I didn't remember everything from Malice, but as I started to read Valor, I was able to slowly piece it together. And I overall enjoyed it as well. Between the 2 books, both of them I thought were good books, great characters, great world building, great everything. But the first couple hundred pages were tough for me to get into for each one. And then enter book 3. I'd put this off the longest, and I was so nervous about it. And I got it for my birthday last year from my parents, and I was just so nervous about reading this because I was afraid I wouldn't enjoy it because it had been so long, and I really didn't remember. I remembered Corbin, I remembered Nethair, I remembered Veratus, and I believe Cywin, and then the dog, or the wolf. Storm, and that's it. That's all I really remember from the books, and so I was nervous that I'd be like way too lost. Well, I started reading Ruin, and almost instantly, I started recalling everything, and John Gwynne did a good job of kind of, not recapping, but filling in the blanks for readers who have had a long time. And one of the best things that this book has is a dramatis persona. So good. The dramatis persona not only mentions who the characters are and what their relation to other characters is, but it also for several names in there, it kind of says where they were, a very brief, like 1-sentence answer of what they've been doing in the previous books. And so rather than just read through the dramatis persona, that would have been too difficult to follow. As I started reading each chapter, I quickly glanced at the dramatis persona, and I really quickly started remembering and piecing back together all the points. So I was able to get into this book super quick. This is the fastest I got excited about any of the 3 books. The first 2, I just thought, it took me forever. It's about 200 pages. This one, it took, just a couple pages, and I was already hooked. And I still liked all the plot lines. I think the plot lines were best balanced in this book. Of the 3, this is by far the best. The plot points are balanced, the characters are balanced, everything works well. There is one overarching plot line featuring a couple of characters. This is including the character of Adana, the princess, or now queen, the character of Rin, the rival queen, the character of Evnis, and then the party with Adana, and the party with Evnis, those groups. It doesn't take up a huge part of the book, but it's substantial, and that whole overarching plot line I thought was the weakest, not because it was particularly bad, but just because it felt like it didn't actually go very far. It advanced a little bit. It advanced from A to B, but it should have advanced from A to E, and it just didn't do that. Whereas all the other plot lines did advance from A to E. And so they actually had a substantial increase, whereas that plot line was the most frustrating because it felt like they weren't increasing. Then you have the rest of the plot lines. Corbin is great in this book. I really enjoyed reading about him. I liked reading the characters around him, like Corlin and Cywin and his friend Michael. I think it's Michael. I think it's Michael. Michael, all the giants who were around him, all that kind of stuff. I really enjoyed that plot line. And then I really enjoyed the villain's plot line in this book, the rogues gallery kind of thing. You have Nether, who's a really kind of conflicted. He's power hungry. I wouldn't say he's particularly evil, but he's power hungry for sure. And then you have the Calidus, or Calidus, however you say that, and he is just despicable. And he's really interesting because of what he's willing to do to bring back Azeroth. And then you have Veratus, who is a good guy serving Nether and not knowing all the information. And so he's trying to make the best out of the situation. He's one of those good person in a bad place, and a good person who serves bad people, and so he's trying to do the right thing. And every time I got to Veratus, his storyline was just the best. I loved reading about him, his struggles, his thought processes, his morality. Everything about Veratus' storyline was perfect. I also really liked the storyline about Fidel and Macwin. I think that's how you say them. Again, I'm probably butchering all the names. But Fidel and Macwin are on the run for basically the whole book. Not the whole book, a lot of the book. They're on the run. And they don't really know each other well. They don't even have that much of a connection. It's just that, Fidel was under a spell by Lycos, and then Macwin released her from it, and so she attacked Lycos, and she and Macwin escaped and ran away. And so at the beginning of this book, they're just on the run. And they aren't necessarily doing that much, but seeing them form a friendship, and maybe something more, and seeing them connect with each other was just great character stuff. There's not a lot of lovey-dovey romance, even though there's a ton of characters that you are like flirting and kind of have a little thing for each other. Corbin's got a girl that he's kind of interested in, but he doesn't know it. Cywin's got some guys that are interested in her. There's all these characters who have some kind of tingles, but the only one that actually develops really is the Fidel storyline, and I really liked her. And she's also growing to be one of my favorite characters in the series. And I realized, and I probably have said this previously about the series, but I really realized it now in this book, is this book does everything I wanted Game of Thrones to do. This has the political storyline, the backstabbing, the character development, the moving the chess pieces around the board, that type of thing. But unlike Game of Thrones, it does not have excessive language. There's like a few swear words here or there, but it's nothing bad, nothing terrible, and it doesn't have the sexual, the graphic elements that that Game of Thrones had. So because of that, it is much more appropriate, and I really appreciate that. And it's also got some connections to the Ted Dekker Circle series, like The Name of the God is Elion, which matches up, and it's also got some world-building elements that are similar. But this book just is doing what I wanted the book to do, and really what I wanted the whole series to do. And I look back, and this book was so good, it raises my opinion of the first two. Like, I eventually want to go back and reread these, because I feel like I didn't give them enough justice. I wasn't as well read as a fantasy reader, and I also just wasn't in the right headspace for these books, but I should have been, because they were I look back and I think, man, I missed out on the enjoyment of these books, and this book proves that it's a really great series. I just wasn't giving it the right due. And so as I read the first one and I was like, that's good, I'll get to the second one eventually, and waited a year. Read the second one, it's good, but I'll wait eventually, and a year and a half passes. But I'm not going to do that again. I'm only going to wait maybe 2 or 3 months, but I'm going to get to Wrath eventually. This is the conclusion, the fourth book, because I am so excited to read more John Gwynne. One of my friends, Caleb, he is just finished John Gwynne's other series, the first book, Shadow of the Gods, which I'm super excited to read as well. And I also want to continue on because I think John Gwynne is fast becoming a favorite author of mine. So if you have read Ruin by John Gwynne, did you love it? Did you hate it? Did you love it as much as me? Is it your favorite in the series, or do you have another favorite? Let me know all those thoughts in the comments section down below. And please make sure to subscribe to the channel to see more reviews, book reviews. There's fantasy like this. I do sci-fi, political thriller, all that type of stuff. So until next time, I'm Jonathan, and thank you for watching.